My name's Nicole McKelvie, and life for me today is very different from what it was 2 years ago when I was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy and heart failure. I have a personal connection to heart disease because my mum was first diagnosed with heart failure and dilated cardiomyopathy probably about 15 years ago now. But at that stage we were told as a family it wasn't genetic because there was no other history in the family. But then lo and behold, I myself have been diagnosed, and shortly after that my twin sister was diagnosed. So we have quite a big connection now, you know, with heart disease. So I myself like to think that I'm one of the driving forces behind Heart Failure Warriors NI. I did have a lot of help and support with heart failure nurses and cardiologists, but more so a lot of other patients and their families. And for me, I think it was when I got out of hospital, I started looking around for help and support, and really I couldn't find any for people with heart failure. You know, there was things for people with heart conditions, but just not specifically heart failure, and the heart failure term itself is very scary. And yeah, it was just, that was the driving force that sort of came across, that we need something unique and something special for myself and a lot of other patients and their families. My diagnosis, it came as quite a shock to the system, and I'm actually very lucky, and I want to hold my hands up and say that in a way my husband, he actually saved my life, because whenever I had all these symptoms and I had been on and off the phone with the doctors and stuff and trying to see where I was and waiting lists and things and getting myself really upset, you know, he insisted on taking me to hospital whenever all I wanted to do was go to bed and lie down and go to sleep. And he insisted. And you know, because the last place anybody wants to go is A&E these days. Nobody wants to go to the emergency department. But I went along, I persevered and put up with it. And when I got there, yeah, it was the shock of my life getting this diagnosis. I do think often about what would have happened if I had been stubborn and just went home, and because I can be quite stubborn at times. And yeah, if I had just gone home and go to bed, you know, I mightn't have woke up again. So I owe my husband my life. In this day and age, I like to advocate and talk to people and reassure people that if you face any of these signs or symptoms, or you're worried about anything, you've really got to keep pushing the doctors, go back and forward to the doctors. At the end of the day, that's what they're there for, but you are your biggest advocate, and you know how you're feeling, and you know when something isn't right, and just keep pushing for that help and support. When, again, you get this diagnosis of heart failure, there's a lot of misconceptions and there's a lot of fears. And I know personally myself, and I guarantee you, most people, when you talk to them, once you get that diagnosis, it kind of goes in one ear and out the other, because you're kind of thinking, really, what did they just say? You know, this isn't right. And then you go to good old Dr. Google, which is not the thing to do, because Dr. Google would have us all dead within 5 years. But it's so out of date, so far behind the times, because there's so many people now living well with heart failure. So it is a big misconception, you know, that term heart failure, you know, you think my heart is failing, that's it, I'm going to die. That's not necessarily the case. It really isn't. You know, we've got many people in our group, Heart Failure Warriors, that have had heart failure for like 20 years and they're still living life and still enjoying life. And yeah, so that's a big misconception and a fear I'd say a lot of people have. They think they're going to die, and that's just not the case. Leading this community, and I'm saying community, but I actually like to think of it as a family. It's a family that I always say you didn't want to be part of, but now you're part of it. You're not alone anymore. And it really has, the more people I talk to and the more people, you know, I meet, it's like, I know what my own story was, and you know, and it was kind of horrific too, but when I hear other people's stories, even for me, it's really emotional, and I can feel the tears coming, and I think, wow, you know, there's people there worse off than what I am too. But it's just, it's such a special family that we're all together, and everybody, we all want the same thing, and we all look out for each other and encourage each other. And it's just, it's so wonderful to see that when you get a diagnosis of something like heart failure or another chronic condition, when you're talking to another patient, you know, there's that understanding and bond. It's a special bond. But even, you know, it's like bringing families and, you know, our friends and all in with us into that community too, because the diagnosis itself, it's not just the patient it affects, it really does affect our families too. Especially, I know how it affected my own children and stuff, even a year later. You know, they just weren't themselves at one point, and, you know, and even I asked them, what is it, what's wrong? And they were like, you know, last Christmas everything was okay, and a few weeks later we nearly lost you. And that was a year later, they were still thinking about that. So it's just this really, it's hearing everybody else's stories and how everybody's connected and together. I have realised that advocacy can take many forms, and using my voice to raise things on behalf of others is really, really special to me, because there's some people, they're just not comfortable, you know, saying things, but I'm quite happy to shout from the rooftops and speak to our politicians and our healthcare professionals and just get things across of how patients and their families feel and for the things that we need. So I've been to our local government, I've been to governments even across the water in the mainland and stuff and all, and I just keep advocating for people, for changes to be made to improve our quality of life. If there's somebody listening to this who has just been diagnosed with heart failure, the thing that I would really want you to know is that you are not alone. There's a lot of us out here, and just reach out. We're all here ready and waiting and willing just to welcome you into our family.